Now that condos, especially in Florida, are walking off a financial cliff right now, I've been noticing something that I need to make everybody aware of, which probably no one else has really pointed out up until now, and that is there are major problems with condos that people are not disclosing. Real estate agents, the sellers, they're not letting people know about this stuff ahead of time, and this is a big problem, especially if you're a buyer, somebody looking to buy a condo. And guess what, guys? This doesn't just affect Florida. In fact, I'm going to show you a California example of this, but this can apply anywhere. This is not exclusive to Florida or California. What I'm about to talk about is nationwide. Before I get into that, I just want to mention that the reason why condos are walking off a financial cliff right now, particularly in Florida, is because these buildings have gone for decades in many cases without the proper amount of maintenance that's been needed in order to keep up with the building. That means the structure, that means their financials, all sorts of things that just weren't paid for a long time, and now all of a sudden it's law that they have to pay for this stuff. But a lot of condos across the country have been mismanaged and run poorly for decades as well, not just in Florida, but only in Florida now are we having laws against this, and you might expect that there will be laws in other states in the future against this as well because of how bad some of these situations are, especially when it just comes to the financials of a building, okay? So here's an example of a condo that's for sale right now in Sausalito, which is right down the street from here. And they want $577,000 for a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. And as expensive as that sounds, it's actually not a bad deal for the area because most 1-bedrooms are a lot more expensive than that. And it's hard to find anything that is, cheaper than $1 million in this area. So from that point of view, it's not such a bad deal. But anyways, when you look at the description of this listing, all it talks about is how good everything is, right? Talking about how it has its own 1-car garage, has gorgeous new flooring, freshly painted interior. They talk about how close you are to San Francisco and how close all the other amenities are, like hiking and tennis, the dog park, all that stuff, right? Just trying to sell you the listing. But not one single disclosure in this listing description about how bad a shape financially this condo is in. Now, why is it not a law everywhere for these things to be disclosed up front, okay? If this building is in such bad shape financially, like I'm about to show you, then that's one of the first things that they should tell you in the listing description. Like, yeah, that's not something that's great. That's not something that's gonna entice a buyer to buy the place. But if you're honest about it and upfront and give people an idea of what they're getting themselves into, it can save everybody a whole lot of wasted time and potentially money and energy, whether or not they're going to buy this place and how much their offer price is going to be. So I actually have the financial reports from this building, okay? And when you look at the top line, that's the revenue, okay? And for example, the total revenue for the 2022 to 2023 was about $207,000, guys. But if we look all the way down at the bottom of this spreadsheet, you can see that their total expenses for this same time frame are $261K, which is about a $54,000 difference that they are short, which means extra money that will need to be collected in the form of a special assessment or higher HOA dues. You look ahead into the future, it's actually even worse. From 2023 to 2024, the total expected revenue is $276K and total expenses is $330K, putting them another $54,000 in the hole for the following year. Now, when you look at the 2023 to 2024 budget, revenue equals their expenses exactly, okay? But the odds of that actually happening in the real world are slim to none. And this just goes to show you that the way that the people who run these condos think and operate is that the financials are an afterthought, okay? Like, no one wants to put forth the correct amount of money in order to run the building properly, and therefore new people coming in have to review financial statements like this one to see if the building is actually healthy financially, because just in 2 years they're already $100,000 short in income, which means that the owners are going to have to make that up somehow. And if the expenses go up even higher than that, well, guess what? now you have to pay even more than what's anticipated here in the spreadsheet. So this is the kind of thing that the new laws in Florida are working against, okay? They're making sure that people are not able to run buildings like this anymore. You need to run these buildings not just with a balanced budget, but with extra money in the bank in case something does happen. That's what the reserves are. But all across the country in other states where they're not doing this, you know, they're allowed to still do whatever they want and get away with running deficits like this. And you as the new owner, you might not find out about this until you're halfway through the transaction and you already paid for a home inspection. Maybe you already paid for an appraisal. You already had your credit report pulled from your lender. Those are things that cost money and actually put a ding on your credit report as well, only to find out halfway through the transaction that, hey, they're probably gonna have to raise my HOA dues here, you know, another $200-300 just to make up for this, or maybe there's gonna be a special assessment, none of which was disclosed up front in the listing description, okay? It's absolutely ridiculous to me that that's how things are being run still to this day, guys. So a lot of people are complaining about the new laws in Florida because it's going to bankrupt a lot of condo owners, but the only reason it's going to bankrupt anybody is because these buildings have not been run properly for decades. So they're looking to change that. And by the way, guys, I just want to say something and do a quick little celebration with everyone here. Today is Thursday, August 8th when I'm shooting this video. You're gonna see it the next day. But this is 5 years today. August 8th marks my 5th year anniversary here on YouTube. 5 years ago today, I dropped my very first video on this channel, and now over 1,000 videos later, here we are. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who's ever watched one of my videos and supported the channel. And there's a few of you who've been with me since the very beginning, which I very much appreciate. So tonight I plan on going now for a prime rib dinner to celebrate 5 years on YouTube, and it's all thanks to you guys. Now, when it comes to the new condo laws in Florida, the state of Florida is actually looking to hire 65 regulators in order to enforce these reforms, which is something that I've been wondering about and, you know, commenting about every time that we talk about this stuff. Like, okay, what if the building doesn't have full reserves by 2025? What if they're not complying with these new laws? They need, you know, some way to enforce this. Well, they're hiring the enforcers now. Here we have a house for sale for almost $2.5 million, and it went pending pretty fast because they listed it on July 17th and it went pending pretty much today as I'm filming this video. But here's something that you really got to look at, okay? This house has a 99% chance of flooding in the next 30 years. It's not just a Florida problem because this house is literally right on the water over here in Larkspur. Meanwhile, you got a property tax bill of around $31,000 a year after you buy this house, and who knows what the flood insurance and the regular homeowner's insurance would be to insure this house. So the cost to maintain this house is crazy, yet people just buy it. It flies off the shelf, which is very interesting because in Florida, people take more caution with this now, but here in California, they're throwing caution to the wind and still buying houses that may end up underwater. So the reason that they are hiring these people not only is for enforcement, but also the Division of Florida Condominiums, Timeshares, and Mobile Homes is anticipating a flood of complaints that are going to come in regarding these new laws. And there are a few other changes that are coming to how condos must operate moving forward starting next year. And one of them is that condo boards now have to hold quarterly meetings that are not only open for unit owners to attend, but also provide them an opportunity to ask questions. And also, unit owners now have the right to see all of the official records of a condo association within 2 weeks of submitting a written request. And failure by these associations to provide these documents clears the way for unit owners to formally complain to the division. That's another reason they're hiring all these regulators, because they think you're going to have a lot of people complaining, saying, hey, we're not getting the documents we're requesting, you know. And there's been a lot of instances in recent history of this happening. You know, the most famous one was that condo association down in Kendall. I can't remember the name of it, but they had a big scandal over the past year where there was a lot of stealing going on, and the people in charge literally stole millions of dollars from this condo association. And that's exactly what they were doing there. They weren't giving people access to the records, so no one could find out what was going on until it was way too late. Well, that's not going to be possible anymore. And so here's what people need to expect moving forward. If you're looking to buy a condo or you live in a condo now, expect the fees to jump by a lot. In fact, just over the past 5 years, condo fees in South Florida jumped over 60%, guys. Now that might be an extreme case, and I can vouch for that myself as someone who purchased a condo in this time frame. My fees also went up by 60%. So this is actually a very accurate number. And if yours has not gone up by this much, expect it to in the very near future when these new laws go into effect starting in 2025. According to some Redfin data, Miami-Dade County's median monthly condo association fee went from $567 back in 2019 to $900 in June of 2024. Broward has seen a similar increase, going from $392 median to $613 median. And guess what, guys? To add insult to injury, these are just the increase in the HOA fees. These do not include special assessments that a lot of buildings are needing to take on in order to make all the necessary repairs that they're now being forced to do by law. They're not able to waive these repairs any longer. So naturally, you have a lot of people who own these condos that are wondering if they're going to even be able to stay in the future because of how much their expenses have gone up, especially people who are older and on a fixed income, which is the lion's share of people who own these condos. And one of the single-handed largest expenses that condos have had to incur with increases over the past couple of years has been insurance, guys. In fact, our insurance doubled from 2022 to 2023 in our building, and I have been amazed to see that since that increase, we've been able to keep it the same. You know, we have not seen another increase since then, which is awesome, but also very surprising at the same time. Just like houses, condos are plagued with a similar issue. You know, it's kind of like whack-a-mole. You fix one problem and then a new one emerges. You know, that's what happens when you own real estate, guys. Like, unless you buy something brand new, and even then you can run into this problem. You know, you're gonna buy a house, you're gonna buy a condo, you're gonna fix something this month, and then next month there might be something else to fix, especially in an older place. So that's the problem with these condos. Like, whenever you go to buy a place, as you can see from my earlier example, not only does nobody ever disclose in the listing description what's going on with assessments, what's going on with the budget or the HOA dues, no talk about that, just how close it is to the nearest tennis court. You need to ask about the budget. You need to ask for the meeting minutes. You need to ask for the assessment information. And here's the thing, even if there's a current special assessment in the building and it's an older building and the owner agrees to pay it, that doesn't mean that you're off the hook, because there could be another future special assessment coming right after that. In fact, in my building, that's exactly what's happening, guys. We have a special assessment that you could either pay up front or they give you a 5-year option to finance it, okay? And we're about halfway through that special assessment right now. As soon as that one's over, they're gonna levy another one, okay? Because to fix the building just costs so much money that they have to do it over time like that. So it's a never-ending money pit. And my building's not even that old. Our building's only like 30 years old, guys. The ones that are older than this, that are 50, 60 years old, are facing massive repair bills. We're talking, you know, people are seeing assessments, you know, that are 6 figures and up. That's how bad this is. So you might think you're getting off the hook buying this old condo and the owner agrees to pay the current special assessment, and they think, well, great, I don't have to worry about it. No, that's not the case. There is no guarantee that there will not be another special assessment in the near future. And unfortunately, there's no way to really know this. Usually the only people who know about this stuff are the people who are on the board, and a lot of the owners of the units are clueless. They have no idea what's going to be coming next because they don't attend all the meetings, and even if they did, they don't ask the right questions. So, you know, you can liken all of this to the situation that the economy is facing right now. You know, we had a good couple of decades right there where inflation was low. You didn't see the prices on anything go up dramatically, but that's because it was all being subsidized by low interest rates and quantitative easing, right? But now those days are over, and you're starting to see the true cost of everything come out. And it's the same thing with condos. You know, for the longest time, these condos could get away with murder by not making the necessary repairs, by not keeping up with the budget, just basically running on a shoestring budget and only collecting a special assessment here or there when absolutely necessary. But other than that, you know, these condos have been subsidized by people not wanting to pay for anything that needs to be done and just neglecting certain repairs over the years, which is why the Champlain Towers collapsed. And that's why all of this is no longer going to be possible. You know, people in houses do the same thing. You know, I've noticed around here even, you know, probably people that bought some of these houses 20, 30 years ago and are on a fixed income, maybe they can't afford to keep up with the, you know, repairs of these really expensive houses here in California, and they slowly let them go. They start decaying, you know, but the consequences are less severe for that to happen versus in a high rise that's on the ocean. You know, they talked to this one woman who bought a condo about a year ago. Clearly she hasn't been watching my channel, which is unfortunate for her. And she bought this place, 1,500 square foot condo for only $220,000 up in Broward. That's a very good deal, especially for just 1 year ago. But all good deals like this are usually too good to be true. And in fact it was, because when she bought it, the HOA fee was $630 a month, and a few months later it climbed to $930 a month. And the building's promising that it's going to go down to $830 a month, but you know, even if it does, that's probably going to be very short-lived. And she said that she's already in a tough spot financially. She's supporting her kids, she's supporting her mom. A bunch of her neighbors are selling, and she can't sell. And neither can a lot of other people who are trying to sell condos right now. In fact, condo sales fell by 27% year over year in Miami-Dade and 32% in Broward County, guys. Because people are waking up to the fact that this is a problem. And if you are going to buy a condo, you need to buy in a place that is going to be healthy financially or just brand new. You know, that's really your only two options moving forward if you don't want to get walloped with headaches. And the truth is, guys, that even though I'm a condo owner and I'm affected by this, I'm happy that I've been able to make my contribution to this and spread awareness on this topic, you know, because obviously I'm going to take a hit on this too. You know, the value of my condo might go down from this. I think it probably already has because of just the amount of inventory. And a lot of people are scared to jump into this right now, and I don't blame them. But you don't hear me crying and whining for a, you know, emergency rate cut like all the people losing money in the stock market. I'm just going to be a big boy and accept the consequences of my decision. You know, we bought a condo, it's going to lose some value for now, and you're going to be stuck paying the bills unless you want to sell it and move. Well, even if I sold, we wouldn't be selling at a loss because we got such a good deal on it. But the thing is, there's nowhere else to go where we live for that amount of money. So that's kind of what it boils down to, the same reason why a lot of other people aren't moving. So this woman I talked about who bought the condo last year and is now having a hard time to afford it, how is she affording it? Well, she had to take on a second job, guys. She's working every other weekend, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., and that helps her earn extra income to afford the fees. So people are having to do things that they wouldn't normally have to do just to be able to keep a roof over their head. You have retirees that are looking at maybe going back to work just to be able to afford to keep a roof over their heads. They talked to one retiree, 67 years old. He can keep up with the costs for now, but if the costs continue to rise, then he's going to have to go and get a job. In his building, like so many others, they recently approved a $3 million special assessment, which is about $11,000 per household that they need to pay by 2026. And that's a small one, guys. Let me tell you, $11,000 is a small special assessment. It is. You know, the one that we had to pay was like $24,000. But the reason that I didn't mind paying it is because we still got the condo for such a good deal that it ended up being worth it. At least when you're looking at just the cost of living perspective and how much our monthly payment is, you know, it's still a lot lower than what it would be to rent something similar in the area. So that's really the only thing in my mind that justifies paying for any of this stuff, is keeping our monthly bills lower than what it would be if we were renting. That's it. Otherwise, we already would have sold you know, a while ago to just get out from this whole thing. Here's another example of just how much people are getting hit from this, okay? They talked to another guy who owns a place in Sunny Isles Beach, and he's paying $340 a month for a special assessment and $897 a month for his monthly condo HOA fees. That's already bad enough, right? That's already almost $1,300 a month. But then, starting in January, in order to start building that reserve account, he's going to have to pay an additional $731 a month towards the reserves that the building doesn't have. That's how big of a deal this is, guys. Just to catch up on reserves, people are looking at fees that are just as high as their HOA fees. So this guy's going to go from paying like $1,300 a month to $2,000 a month starting next year. But the problem is these reserve payments should have been paid for the past 30 years, but they haven't been. And so now, at a time of high inflation, when the cost of everything is to the moon, now it's time for all of us to pay up. And it's just like coming at the worst timing ever, unfortunately, for everybody. And this guy's 71 years old. He was thinking about retiring. That's not going to happen. He's just going to have to continue working because there's no way to afford this otherwise. Now, there is only one glimmer of hope with all of this, which I didn't know until I researched this today. And that is that, you know, condo associations can increase their HOA fees as much as it wants to cover reserves, but condo owners can push back if a budget increase is 15% more than the previous year. This is according to a lawyer out of Miami. So if there's a budget above that threshold, it opens up the opportunity for members to propose an alternative budget. Members can vote on that alternative budget. But this guy said at the same time, he's never seen this happen. And to put into perspective just how many people are affected by this, just in the South Florida area, we're talking Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade County, there is about 13,000 condo associations as of the end of December 2023, guys. And how many thousands of people live within those 13,000 condo associations? You have millions of people that are affected by this, and that's just in South Florida. We're not even talking throughout the rest of the state. This 71-year-old guy who wanted to retire, but now he's not able to, this is what he said. Instead of enjoying retirement, I have to work to keep up my salary in order to make a payment on this building. And he says that he hopes the state government steps in soon. Well, steps in and does what? They're not going to do anything. That's the problem. Like, so many people want the government to come to the rescue on things, and trust me, guys, I don't want to pay for this stuff either as someone who is directly affected by this, but I know that there's nothing that the government can do to come in and save the day on this one. They just can't. The government can't pay all of our bills. The only thing that they can do is reverse these laws and pretend like they never passed them and just let buildings continue to fall down if they don't do anything. So I don't see how the government can come and save the day on this. They just really can't. And, you know, it gets old hearing people trying to call for this as if that's the only way to do anything. Wow, look at the apples. I'm tempted to grab one, but I can tell they're not quite ripe yet. Now, one other thing I want to mention in this video is that a lot of buildings are looking at doing a buyout instead of fixing it, which is smart, right? But there was a ruling that just happened in March from the appeals court in Miami. They actually sided with unit owners when it comes to corporations and developers taking over condo associations moving forward. There was a building that had some holdouts and the residents refused to sell. The appeals court recently overturned a ruling from the circuit judge, and now it looks like moving forward, in order for these developers to take over a condo association, they now need to have 100% of support from the people that they want to buy out. So literally, if there's 300 people in the building, 300 unit owners, all 300 of them have to agree to a buyout in order for them to fully take over, which wasn't the case. In fact, even in this building that they tried to take over, according to the condo bylaws, the developer would need to take over 95% of the units. And now they're saying even that's not good enough. It needs to be 100% of the units need to be bought out. Who knows if this might get reversed? You know, there's a lot of developers that are probably going to challenge this because this is a big problem. Like, for example, the developer of this building took out a $150 million loan to buy the building. So they're definitely going to be appealing this decision. But this puts a big damper on plans for future developers that want to tear down old condos in Florida and build a new one. You know, because they've been going up and down the coast and buying out all sorts of old buildings, which can be a big relief for people that are, you know, buried in a mountain of new fees that they didn't have before. You know, this would come as a blessing. Like, for example, guys, if they offered me, you know, over $1 million for my place, and there was a developer coming in asking to buy it out, I wouldn't even have to hesitate. I would just sell it to them in a heartbeat. Even though I can't buy anything comparable in the neighborhood for $1 million, I don't care. I would just take the money and run, just to get out from underneath the problem and start over somewhere else. You know what I mean? But you have some people who are stubborn holdouts that just refuse to sell regardless of the price that they're offered, you know? And then what happens is once 90% of your neighbors sell out and you only have a few people left, then they can lowball you and just basically pay you fair market value, which is usually way less than what your neighbors got for the place. It's going to be interesting to see how many condo buyouts are going to happen moving forward after this appeals court made this ruling. And of course, couldn't finish this video without the leaf blower guy for you guys. But anyways, I'll keep you posted on this giant mess. And in the meantime, just be very careful. If you plan on buying a condo, make sure you review these financials like I showed you guys in this video. It literally can show you that they are broke and they have no money, but people don't look at this stuff until it's too late. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And if you don't want to wait for my next video to come out, check out this one on the screen right over here, and I'll see you in the next one.